Hockey, yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
You bet it is. Judd's Hockey Show, recording this on a Monday after the Wild over the weekend played the Flyers and beat the Flyers on Saturday, come back on Sunday and lose to the Vegas Golden Knights. It's Judd, it's Jessi, it's a blurry AJ while the studio camera tries to fix itself.
We'll get that settled.
Just move back and forth. Like literally like go 3D. There you go. There you go.
Ah, there you
See?
go. Look at that.
See? Then they say sports dad doesn't know technology. All right, let's get...
Oh, my God, Jessi, you should have seen us sharing a microphone on, Saturday night up in the...
That's
after
adorable.
the game.
That's
Oh,
just
God.
adorable.
It was
I
great.
wish I would have seen it, except I had to run to Tom Reed's because we needed to get in on that post-game drinking action. You know?
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. I was going to go. Age told me until I was informed that there was some freezing rain.
Yeah.
I don't like freezing rain. I'm not going to drive in it, so I was like, I'm going to get home. I'm going to skedaddle home. And I got home just in time to watch, unfortunately, the Gopher hockey team completely melt down. In the
Hey, I
third
saw
period.
that third period meltdown. My gosh.
I was there Friday. It was a great game. Shootout loss. Who cares? Great game, but that was a
Charlie
ugly
Strammel
meltdown.
with the dagger. What a...
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now. So I went on Friday and I watched him a lot from the press box, like just his shifts. He's a big guy. I like that. Center, I like that. I need to see a little more want to in the game.
Yeah.
He's a top line college center. Doesn't make you a pro. But that's for a different time. That's a prospect report. All right, Jessi. So the Wild 5-game homestand, they open it with a terrible game. Probably, I would say safe to say their worst game of the season, a 7-1 loss to the Oilers. They come back and beat the Flyers on Saturday. They lose what I thought was a very entertaining 1-goal game to the Golden Knights last night. Just for some context, they are without still Joel Eriksson-Ek. Middleton now is out. Brodin is back. Zuccarello is back. Trennan is out. Take of that what you will, or has been out. Philip Gustafsson, mysterious upper body injury that we don't think is too severe.
Nope, it was corrected. So John Hines did tell us it was upper when I asked him.
Thank you.
And then PR informed us afterward that it is in fact lower, which makes much more sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense and is actually more concerning. And well, because it's a hamstring possibly. I mean, we don't know, but then Hines did say he doesn't think it's severe, but then was asked if Gus could then start on Wednesday night against the Florida Panthers, and Hines said, I wouldn't go that far yet. Anyway, putting this entire stew together, what was your takeaway, or what has been your takeaway since we have not talked to you since the Oilers game about the first 3 games here of the homestand?
Yeah, there was a nice little win in between there, too, against the Philadelphia Flyers for that afternoon Saturday game, as we mentioned. So I'm not hitting the panic button still. Like you said, I think that most recent game against Vegas was a good game, especially for 2 teams off of back-to-backs. Vegas had a really tough showing against Edmonton, but their score not indicative, they said, of their play necessarily. And Edmonton's on a roll. I mean, they pummeled Minnesota here, and then they pummeled Vegas. I mean, I think they've won 5 straight now. So Edmonton's a good team. And I think the reason I'm not hitting the panic even after that Edmonton loss, which easily the worst loss of the season, is, as John Hines said, it was so uncharacteristic of this team. There was just, it wasn't even anything. I don't even think they looked at video, Hines said. He said, we literally just flushed it down. And those are going to happen. It's an 82 game season. There was nothing in that game that you were like, oh no, this constantly is happening. And again, that game, they're out without Zuccarello and Ek and Broads, right? I mean, you lose Middleton 37 seconds into that darn thing. That's going to be a problem for you. So I think a lot of that, I'm not taking solace. Overall, they're still looking good, right? Kirill's still doing his thing. The Philip Gustafsson injury is going to be the big question mark, and the Jake Middleton one's going to hurt, because putting Middleton on LTIR means he has to miss 10 games and 24 days, which luckily during that holiday freeze, those days do count. So he's eligible to return early on in the new year, but you need a left-handed D. You saw them go out and get Travis Dermott to try to replace that, but he's just a warm body for the most part, right? You got Jonas Berdine. So with defense now very muddled, and with Philip Gustafsson's injury still unknown, it's a little more concerning because the schedule does get tougher. You've got a lot more games consecutively. You've got tough teams. You've got the Florida Panthers coming in here on Wednesday. So those injuries hopefully shake out okay. You could argue it might be a good time because you've got the break. You've got a little bit of time off to heal things. So depending on what Gustafsson's injury is, that's going to be a big question mark for me moving forward.
Age, what do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like panicked or concerned too much, like drastically, but there is a little like bug in the back of my mind that's like, well, they've already had stuff stack up and they've been able to kind of fend it off, and it hasn't been these like massive names, like the occasional, Eric Snag misses a game, or like Kaprizov, we saw him miss a game or two here at times. But now it's like Gustafsson. For as much as I know, Judd and I were very much on his case in the offseason, Judd directly to Bill Guerin was like, hey, you want to maybe move?
Just a great move.
Okay, we'll push on. We'll move on. But he's been phenomenal, and he's been a rock for this team in the net so far this season. One of, if not the best goalie in the league, and he got the nod for Team Sweden at the Four Nations face-off, rightfully so. But if he's gone, we haven't seen, I think, enough for me to like be solidified in my belief that Marc-Andre Fleury can carry this goaltending tandem with Jesper Wallstedt, who we'll dig into at a certain point here, I'm sure, on the show, but he looked, I think, good last night, but it wasn't like he didn't put them in a position where to win them the game. The penalty kill is still atrocious, and some turnovers led to some other things. But Jessi, I can see you having flashbacks.
I want to talk about the PK next. Yeah,
but the flashbacks of just face-off loss after face-off loss. But if they can, I will say this is now a stance where if they can show me that despite missing their number one goaltender and like their number 1 or 2 center and some other key guys, that they can still be competitive and be pushing good teams like we saw with Vegas, who I think they may be scheduled last night as a loss. They come out with the win, but if they can make it competitive and compete, that when they come back and have full strength guys and everybody's healthy, that this team can make a run. If they wilt and they, dissolve and they just look meek, then it's a giant cause for concern. And then it's, as soon as injuries come down the road in the playoffs, why would I have faith in this team?
My take is next. But first, before we get to my take, because I completely forgot at the top of the show, I want to give a quick shout out to the exclusive personal injury law firm of Judd's Hockey Show. That, of course, is our friends at Nicolay Law. Nicolay Law knows that when your loved one gets injured, ordinary life comes to a stop and things can get complicated. During that time, the insurance companies, they're going to pressure you. They don't care if you get better. They don't care if your bills are piling up, and they don't care that you may not be able to work. But Nicolay Law, Russ right there walking around US Bank Stadium, they care. They've seen every play the insurance companies have, and they'll make sure you get the compensation you deserve after an accident. So if you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers. Get Nicolay. Start your path to winning at nicolaylaw.com or give them a call, 1-855-NICOLAY, nicolaylaw.com, NICOLET. Russ right there is on the lookout to make sure that you are taken care of. All right, so first of all, the injuries are ridiculous at this point, and all teams probably go through this at some point. It just seems to be the Wild's turn right now. But that being said, let's get to what Jessi asked about. And John Hynes, who ordinarily, it feels to me, and I don't blame him, he tries to be pretty positive, right? Like last night, he's like, we played a good game. Or like the Oilers game, we're going to flush that game. He didn't get mad and harp about it. Now, privately, he might have, but he didn't to the media. But even he couldn't say a thing nice about the penalty kill, and he couldn't muster that. Jessi, they are 30th again in penalty kill. There's 32 teams in the league. They are 30th again. I think we talked about this briefly last week, but they spent, the offseason, this was a primary focus. They worked on it in training camp, and I know Eck is out. I know Brodin was out. That hurt. Middleton's out now. That hurts. But all of that being said, your question to John Hynes last night about faceoffs and his sort of quick response, I thought, and you can recap that, but I thought that was very telling about the frustration. I mean, the Oilers, power play 1, 5 seconds, goal. Last night, power play 1 for the Golden Knights, 7 seconds, goal. It's disheartening at best.
Yeah, and again, it starts with those defensive zone faceoffs. Like we said, there's no way around it. You win those, you give yourself a chance. You give yourself a chance to get out of the zone. You give yourself a chance to do anything. And John Hynes, I pinched a little nerve, I think, because he was very quick to say, I don't think we've won a defensive zone faceoff on the penalty kill in 2 games. So it's an issue. And it is. And it's kind of like, what are you going to do? I think it's time for more personnel changes, frankly, on the PK. That's the only other thing you can seemingly do. I mean, I'm at a loss, and it's something that needs to get fixed now, not just for the success as it sits currently, but you need to desperately fix your special teams before heading into the playoffs. Like, there's no question about it. Playoffs are huge, especially a solid PK team, or at least better. We didn't think we could get lower. We are. Like, we are going right back down there, and it's frustrating because the team should seemingly be better. It makes you wonder, we're missing Connor Dewars. We're missing the Brandon Duhaimes, right? Like, those were the guys that the PK was successful with. Murad Husnadinov, am starting to swirl around questions more. That was kind of supposed to be his bread and butter. He was supposed to be this big PK face-off guy. He was supposed to be this big face-off guy, specialist in general.
Hines responded to you by saying, we haven't won a PK face-off in how long?
The direct quote. So I said, how much are those defensive zone face-offs a problem on the PK? He said, yeah, I don't think we've won 1 in 2 games. So that's an issue.
I mean, that is, now, the start
I left it at that. I had something snarky to say, but I just shut my mouth for once.
It feels to me like that's a good post-practice discussion.
Yeah.
Like with Hines. But it was interesting. Sarah in the Star Tribune had a really good piece on Kaprizov last week about his Hart Trophy candidacy, which, clearly is a big thing. But in her piece, there was a very small thing that said that Hines had actually broached Kaprizov being on the PK. And I think his direct quote on that one was, it went in one ear and out the other. And it basically was a non-starter. But I'm telling you right now, I think the guy on your shirt, look, he plays a ton, right? Mm-hmm. Age called this, and he could talk about this in a second. Age called this on Saturday into Sunday perfectly. But I'm telling you, I put him out there. He's aggressive. He's a great skater. If you trust him enough to be out there empty nets, and he leads the league right now with 6 empty net goals, I think I think that you can trust him on the penalty kill. So AJ, I really think, and I know that I said this about a month or so back and sort of got scoffed at a little bit, but this thing is in dire straits, and I just don't know that the skill you're putting out there is high enough. I think Kirill Kaprizov has proven himself to be defensively responsible enough that it would make sense to give him a chance. Look, it can't get much worse. Mm-hmm. Like, what's he going to do? Screw it up? They're going to give up a goal? That's what they're doing currently.
I think you could approach it by a temporary basis, because I think the biggest thing is that Joel Eriksson is not in the lineup right now. And I think he would probably be the one to slot in on that top PK unit so that you can have a reliable face-off taker, a guy who isn't afraid to get in front of a shot at the point. My biggest hesitation would be putting 97 out there to do the same thing, because, I mean, with how much they're battling the injury bug right now, I would hate to have 97 try to wear one off the chest or catches him in the arm.
Don't be blocking shot. No.
Well, that's the thing. Well, that's the thing. If he's on the PK, be on the PK, and that's blocking shots. Like, I don't want him to go out there and they're playing 3.5 guys, and he's just kind of doing the bubble rover. I'm fine with putting a guy out there who's bottom 6, who's willing to get.
He's good enough to pressure you. You won't get the shot off because he'll steal the puck and then transition. Their problem is we've talked about this. They're too damn passive. They're always waiting. And the other problem, I'll bitch about this too. The other problem with block shots is this is a league now, because block shots are such a thing, where guys are trying to position themselves to block shots at the expense of allowing the shot. That drives me crazy. Brodin, who's incredibly skilled, last night, that goal was scored partially because he went into block shot mode instead of actually coming at the guy with the puck.
Yes,
they never force anyone to do anything. It's like, I'll just block the shot. That's not the goal of blocking shots. The goal of blocking shots is when all else is lost, you block the shot. Put some pressure on, Broads. You're better than that. Everyone's better than that, except for Trennan, who's not playing right now.
Well, that was the thing, too, about they lose the face-off. It was as clean as it comes. They go D to D, and Victor Olofsson is able to walk from his heels on the blue line.
That's right.
To below the top of the circle. There wasn't anybody in green making an attempt to pressure him. He was able to walk. It wasn't like he speedily hurried down to there. He kind of coasted in, measured up, where should I shoot? And then he was able to close that distance to about half. And Victor Olofsson, sure. I mean, is he like a renowned world sniper? No. But remember that rookie season with the Sabres, he was looking like one of the next premier goal scorers in this league. He does have a good shot. We saw it here on this power play. Yep. He beats Wallstedt. you have to apply pressure to these guys with the puck. And that's where the Wild, granted, I don't know if that's necessarily Brodeen's guy. He does go into shot block mode, but I think he was in a position where he has to decide, am I going to block? Am I going to just go all out, try to cover the point? I don't know. I still hesitate on throwing 97 on the PK solely because I want a guy who's not afraid to lay down and take something off the chest, take something off the foot, where then I don't have to wince every time he does. Then it's like, oh, okay, he's skated gingerly back to the bench. What's going on here? Do we have to nurse something? Blah, blah, blah. And so that's my only hesitation is 97 is too... He's not fine China because he throws the body around. He plays a gritty game, but he's not a plate that I'm willing to throw on the ground, if that makes sense.
I hate it. Yeah, you don't put your best players out there on the PK. I hate it. Bad idea.
But you're hemorrhaging goals because of it.
I hate it. I don't want him on the PK.
But you're giving.
And I agree with Kirill. Kirill's probably scoffing like, "How dare you suggest my name?"
He'd lead the league in shorthand goals.
Minions. There's no reason.
Well, I would love. I think the next
disrespect, Judd.
I think the next. Well, yeah, but they're so bad. I don't want to do it. I'm just saying I would because they're awful, and I do think that there is. I think the next trend though that you're going to see swinging away from is this huge premium on block shots. We've gone overboard. You've got a goaltender, clear out. The other thing that drives me nuts about this whole thing now too is why do we allow the screen in front of the goaltender to front the goaltender? The defensemen now all go in front of the guy who's screening the goaltender, making it a double screen, and there's not much that you can do. You got to get to the side of that guy and not cross-check him, but physically move him. Watch in front of the goal. It's a bunch of garbage. These guys literally allow the guy in front of the goaltender to screen him, and then they create a double screen while acting like they're trying to help. There's a lot of things. I'd love to get my hands on these teams. Block shots. Hey, they're timely. They're awesome at times. But the whole thing is now half the freaking world is like sliding around like they're in Pee-wees. Anyway.
Yeah. No, Mark Stone's big enough. He doesn't need somebody else helping him screen. Yes,
that's right.
Said.
Yeah.
And if I'm the goaltender, I tell you what, until I get penalties called, that's stick. I'm jabbing guys. I'm jabbing guys and collapsing their knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there has to be a price to pay. There's no price to pay right now.
Fleury did that for most of his career. He's a little jabber. He loves
jabbing. Small slashes and jabs, 100%. 100%. Okay, what was your, we'll start with you. What was your favorite Kirill goal of the weekend?
Kind of like the one off Urson's head. That was, because who even thinks, nobody's shooting from that angle thinking that there's even a possibility it's going in, with the exception of Kirill Kaprizov. Like, he's taking that shot knowing when you are on the goal line, yeah, I could probably get that in there. Like, nobody else, because he practices that. Like, I have seen him practice these ridiculous goal line shots after practice, or him and Boldy are practicing random little tip-ins from cross ice. And it's amazing how accurate he is because of the way he works. It's either the one off of Urson's helmet or against his buddy Samsonov, where Samsonov's literally shell-shocked. Like,
which one?
The way that above the glove, and I think the puck, I didn't realize the puck was like lodged in the netting, so they really didn't know where it was. But like the way he just stood there and stared and was like, how did he score that? Like,
Correct.
How did he, he was squared up. He had a good angle on it, but the quickness in which he released that shot and just went top titty 2x4. It was brilliant. It was, God, it's so good. It's so good.
So which one? So
no, I like both. I don't want to pick. I don't want to
pick one. You gotta pick one. That's the whole purpose.
Samsonov, because I just couldn't believe how shook the man was. Like, it's got to be that one. Urson's a little bit of a lucky bounce, I guess, but
yeah,
the one to that corner, his second of the night. That was the second one, right?
Yeah, and that's the one I was going to go with too. Just because the gather too, it was like a bouncing puck. He had to catch it chest high, the settle. It takes so composure, hand-eye, skill. It's such a complete package goal where it's impromptu, like you're not expecting that. Judd had his back to me because of the seating arrangement, but my jaw was on the floor for that. It was ridiculous. Yeah,
I'm going Saturday afternoon goal against Urson because I don't know if it was on purpose or not. It certainly looked it, but when you work a play like that with John Merrill, you get my awe. Like I think John Merrill I think, Jess, correct me if you think I'm wrong. I think John Merrill shot that puck purposely wide, knowing that there could be a carom because they play enough in there to know where the liveliest portions of the boards are.
That just seemed. I love John Merrill. This is going to sound super disrespectful. That just seems too intelligent for John Merrill to have really thought that one through.
Wow.
I'm giving John
sorry.
Merrill the benefit of the doubt.
I mean, I'm
think
not sure
he
he's
has
good
that in
enough
his
to,
bag.
but my God, go back and watch it. Like, it does not
I mean, you
look...
do know you have Kirill there, so I imagine that
Right.
that comes into play, right? So maybe, because to me it just looked like he shot wide, and that's what happened, I guess. But I'm not that intelligent enough to always think of that either, right?
Well,
So
Bogosian
maybe it's me.
hits Kirill in the
Yeah, just your
head
everyday Bogosian
and knocks him
Merrill
out
to
like
Kirill.
Foligno damn near got knocked out last night. Like, Bogosian just hammers that puck away. I think John Merrill used the boards and worked that goal, and it was a gorgeous goal. I'm going to give John Merrill credit for being the wingman for Kirill Kaprizov there.
Okay, there we go. Didn't see that coming.
I'm trying to give credit to people. It's the holiday season. I'm trying to be nice. I've been trying to be nice all day long. In fact, you know what? Jess, let's be nice right now and talk about it. The great sport of golf. The great sport of golf, which of course brings us to your good friends at Swing Lab.
Swing Lab Performance Centers. I understand, guys. It's not fun during the winter season because you can't get out on the golf course. You can't go swing the clubs, work. Oh, look at that. That's just a swing and a half.
Killing John Merrill and then showing that.
I am athletically inclined. But no, my friends out at Swing Lab Performance Golf in Lakeville have you covered. State-of-the-art facility that utilizes TrackMan technology paired with Swing Catalyst video analysis in the luxury of your own private room. And you know what? Those private room guys, perfect to book with some friends. If you book a simulator session of 2 hours or more between now and Christmas, you can get 25% off the price with promo code XMAS25. That's that's XMAS25.
John Merrill's laughing.
John Merrill's laughing. I just fumbled it. Swing Lab Performance Center in Lakeville. We love them. Go check it out.
Absolutely. And if you are going to a wild game to watch this red hot team for the most part, then Sports Dad has a recommendation for you, because right down West 7th from the X is Parlor Bar, a perfect spot to stop before a game. Absolutely delicious. The Parlor Burger, of course, is one of one. Open 4 to 10 p.m. Monday and Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday. A fantastic brunch on the weekends. There's nothing better than a weekend brunch. Also, a special game day menu for wild games available 3 hours before the game. You get that Parlor Burger. You're all set. You go watch the game. Have a great time. Again, right down West 7th in St. Paul from the X. Ideal spot for a pregame or for a family gathering. Check out our friends at Parlor Bar. All right, let's talk about what AJ alluded to earlier in the show. So Jesper Wallstedt's had a very weird year. He came to training camp expecting to be kept on the roster. The Gustafsson unknowns were very, very clear coming off a bad year. I think that there was the expectation among every one of us and the Wild that they would have the three goaltenders. Wallstedt would occasionally be sent down for salary cap purposes to go play at Iowa, but for the most part, it would be some form of, not rotation probably, but Wallstedt would get a chance to play. Anyway, training camp comes. Gustafsson's great. And also for cap purposes, Wallstedt gets sent down to start the year at Iowa, and he can't stop a puck. He's absolutely terrible. Now, we all saw the stats, and I thought, okay, he's pissed off. He got sent down. It's going to be fine. But he didn't expect this. Certainly that has been a story with other goaltenders before. Well, last night, after making his debut at the X, Wallstedt, who played well, cuts open a vein. And I mean, folks, keep in mind, these pre or post-game scrums, as Jessi and AJ can tell you, are about as just factual as you can get. I played well. I didn't play well. We battled hard. See you later.
Pucks deep and
pucks deep.
Get pucks to the net.
Yep, exactly right. I thought our effort was there. It's disappointing not to get 2 points, but we'll come back and be prepared for the Panthers on Wednesday. Wallstedt cuts open a vein and starts talking about not just the fact that he couldn't, that he struggled, but how he couldn't stop a puck. He's had to work, or he has talked to, I think, the team psychologist. The goaltending coach went down there. Jess, I don't know if you've got a chance to go back and read that yet, because you were in the opposing team in the Golden Knights locker room. But what were your thoughts on his candidness, which was great to hear, but his candidness, but also where he was mentally compared to what we probably thought, which was just a ticked off kid.
I didn't think that. I definitely knew that this was going to be a mental mind F for him. I mean, I had talked with Connor Beaupre, the team's e-bug, who's a goalie himself, and he had kind of brought that to my attention early on when they were considering doing the 3 goalie rotation and how that's going to be really tough for all 3 goaltenders, but mostly Jesper being a young guy and finally getting this opportunity, his dream, right? And I think going back to the beginning of the season, I do believe he felt that he was here. He was in St. Paul. This was going to be where he was. And that was kind of, what was relayed to him, where he'd be platooning in and out a lot, which was going to be a lot, but he was prepared for that. He was thinking, though, I am an NHL goaltender for the most part this year. Now, Gus comes out and does what he does, and that plan changes, which is going to be tough for anybody to swallow, but especially a young kid who is right there on the cusp, a young kid who has all of this. And I think what makes Jesper so different to listen to when he is pouring his heart out, when he's talking about how hard it was on him mentally. And again, goalies need to be mentally there, right? They have a whole bunch going on. Like, it's a lot to have a puck come flying at you every single night, right? He's so well articulated when he speaks that, and he's so authentic in it too. So I think it makes you feel for him just as a human. There's that empathy factor in there, because that can't be easy. Like, you finally feel your dream has come true, and then you go down and prove those naysayers right by performing so poorly in the American Hockey League. So I'm so glad that he was so vulnerable and honest in that moment. I know in hockey that's something you don't get very often. You don't get that vulnerability, and for him to just really let media know what he was going through and how he's changing it, how he's taken control of that and saying, I am going to talk to the team psychologist. I need to get my mind right, because he does need to recognize if it's not going to be here, I still need to be performing at my very best in Iowa, right? He still needs to be helping Iowa win, or he needs to be preparing himself down there for these moments up here. And I agree. I think he looked good last night, all things considered. Again, that first goal he screened on, I think 2 of the 3 goals he was screened on, in fact. Yeah. And then you've got the power play too. So yeah, all in all, he looked really solid. But yeah, it's interesting to see, because as you said, Judd, you don't get those moments very often, and they're far and few between in sports in general, because it's not manly to talk about struggles you're having. So hopefully things get corrected, and he can get back to the top of his game, because next year he is going to be the guy. There is going to be no question about that. That moment is coming. But I imagine, again, for a young kid, because I think he's probably 21, 22.
That sounds right.
Somewhere, yeah. Right? Like, so, I mean, so he's still, he feels like his dream has been taken from him for a moment, and he's ready to do it. And his confidence will be back, though, I think, within time.
Yeah. I was walking back out, like, up to the press area. I turned to Judd and I was like, how often do you see somebody? He was like, almost never. So it's, it was cool to see a guy, because I feel like, especially like growing up, you look at these NHL players and they're almost like something other than a human at times. And it's like, they're fine-tuned, bred hockey players that have, hockey on the brain, and you're like, you almost lose that sense of they're human beings, because kind of the other part of that is after the games, it's a lot of like, hey, we didn't play too great. We're going to have to turn back around. It's all about a response, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of cookie cutter answers. So to get something that in depth and that open and kind of that emotional was, I think, both good and bad to see, because on one part, it's like, he's a human. He's obviously addressing whatever issues he's dealing with. And it's nice that he's not, it's a lot better to have that openness, I think, than trying to shut it off and trying to push it down deep inside, like you do see a lot of people do. And then eventually, who knows, that wave could eventually just wreck whatever it may be. But at the other side of it, and this is where I may come off as a bad guy, but you have to look at, in terms of, we always hear about how hockey is a business. And so you trade away a captain, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff that is said about that. But a goalie thinking that much, I think, I'm not going to say right now, because he's 22. I just looked it up. But he's 22 years old. He's still getting his foothold in this league. I'm not going to say this is the determining mindset that Jesper Wallstedt's going to have his entire career. But a goalie, I think, should not be, if you get scored on, I need you to shake it off. Like, deficit gets cut to, down to 1. You're still winning this game. We can't dwell on that. If you go into the playoffs and you're in, You go up 3-1 in the series, all of a sudden maybe a costly goal slips by you in overtime. Now you're only up a goal in that series. I can't have you dwelling on that and having it affecting your play, because at the end of the day, you are the guy. You are the person that has a huge say on how games go, being in the net for an entire 60 minutes. So I don't know. It's weird to, I guess, maybe hold a prejudice about that, because he is a kid. He is a kid, but there is, I think, something to say about this early in a career kind of having certain doubts at times, and whether or not he can work out of that sooner than later. I'm sure he will. He's young. It's still a very moldable player, but I'm glad it seems like he's getting help and, I guess, addressing any issues that he's facing.
I'm glad he's getting help. I guess what I found to be intriguing about the conversation was he was talking about how I couldn't stop a puck. So there's a fine line between mentally being sort of mind bleeped and coming out of that. And when he talked about that, when he said, I'm a goalie that couldn't stop a puck, it made me think of baseball players who lose the ability to throw the ball to a certain spot. So I guess I do have questions about that. I think it's good that he apparently has been so proactive though, and not covered it up. So here's my biggest takeaway after to Jess's point, hearing him talk and how articulate and clearly smart. Probably a little bit too smart for his own good. That always scares me about guys. He's clearly extremely intelligent. Let's just say I don't think that everyone in that room has that problem, which is a good thing, because to what Age said, you have to be able to shake off adversity. And now Wallstedt's, and he didn't get any help in this particular game, but his debut in Dallas, in which was a debacle, makes more sense now, because I think it was 1 goal and he's like, oh my God. Then it was 2 goals, oh my, but my biggest takeaway was this: it is a shame that he hasn't been and won't get the chance to spend the entire season with Flower.
Yeah.
I think Marc-Andre Fleury's counseling could be so helpful here, because he's been through it all, and including, during Stanley Cup playoff runs in Pittsburgh, right? Being sort of benched because he was struggling with it. I just think his counsel, and perhaps that they talk, I don't know, but Flower's counsel would just be so valuable, because he's seen this and he's such a good guy in turn, and he's a smart dude too. There's no question he thinks about things. I just think that relationship, and I hope it's a thing, would be just so helpful to a kid going through this, because Flowers, as good as that dude is, top overall pick in his draft class, he's still been through a lot himself and can process it. That was my big thought, Jess.
My big, to go off, and you guys have touched on it a little bit, but that's the thing. This is probably the first time in Jesper's life that he's faced adversity quite like this, right? He's always been the guy, and that's a really hard thing to learn. Yes, everybody can talk about well, it's the NHL, you should know it's the best of the best. But he's always been the guy. That's never been a problem. It's always been that for him. So, this is his first test of adversity. And you're right. Maybe it is. He's too intelligent to realize that. And goaltenders, their hands and their confidence, that's what they need, right? You need to have this confidence that cannot be shook. And Jesper's can be shook. And you're right. But I will say, to a credit, Philip Gustafson, I know, did a lot of hanging out with Jesper through training camp. They were out golfing at my golf cars quite a bit and just really bought it. And they have their heritage to bond over. No, none of those Minnesota Wild players were really.
They don't suck down the beers
when they were down. No,
that's no hockey player.
A lot of pop drinkers. But yeah, no, it was. So I think Gus will be able to do that. Now you're right. Fleury is Fleury, and his knowledge and experiences are invaluable, especially compared to Philip Gustafson as of right now. But I do think Gus is trying to kind of mentor a little bit. So that'll be definitely nice to see continued. And it's funny because I think the plan was for Fleury to be this big guy to him, but then you have injuries, you've got the salary cap situation, and you can't have a goalie sitting and not playing games, right? There was just no way to work in him. So it's a tough situation. You're right. I think I do understand your guys's business side of it, or the systems, sometimes we treat players or athletes as though they're machines, and we need your machine to be running perfectly all the time. And he'll get there. I just think it's probably the first time he's ever been oh crap, can I not do this? Is this not something I'm ready for? So it'll be interesting to see how he responds.
And the other thing is that I think he mentioned that over this, I'll say debacle because I don't have a better word. This situation, I guess, is that he hasn't, like, his family has not been in person. Like, I'm sure they've talked on the phone and stuff, but he mentioned that really his girlfriend has been the only one that has been there, like, day and night with him, going through this to, like, talk about and stuff. And sure, you know, coaches, I'm sure, within the Wild organization, and Fleury being there, and Gustafsson being also a Swedish guy and, you know, doing the golfing and stuff. But at the same time, like, having that direct, you know, family member who is there for you through thick and thin, girlfriend who's there for you through thick, that's a different type of thing. And only having really that one person, whereas, like, if you're from the States or you're from Canada, sure, at least you're on the same continent. Being from Sweden, that's got to be such a tough thing to, hey, Dad, I know it's 3 a.m. by you, but I just had a bad game. Can you wake up and talk for, you know, a few minutes just to clear my head?
Sleeping. Suck it up.
Exactly.
Stop the puck. Just stop the puck. Good night.
You're a goalie. Oh, man.
Yeah, you're a goaltender, damn it. You're paid to stop the puck. Now do it. Good night. I'm sleeping. Okay, we will wrap things up. I have one more question for Jess, but before that we do that, I want to talk about Stoke Barbecue Pellets, a company based right here in our great state. You know what? If you're a grill master, you very well know that there is no off season. Yeah, summer's great to grill. Winter's great too. Stoked is the premium pellet that cooks anything you throw on the grill or smoker to delicious perfection. You can find Stoked at all 22 Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores. Perfect for pellet grills, pellet smokers, and ideal really for all types of grills. Find Stoked Barbecue Pellets, 50-count fire starter buckets, 4-count fire starter bags, or how about the Barbecue Caddy? I can tell you right now, the Barbecue Caddy is a perfect holiday gift. It's great. It makes barbecuing that much easier. Again, find Stoked at all 22 Fratelloni's hardware and garden stores, or check them out at stokedbbq.com, stokedbbq.com, because grilling knows no off-season. Jess, on starting with Eriksson Ek, what do you think is the timetable there? I know the last thing I read, he hadn't started skating yet, but this seems to be fairly prolonged. What is your thought on when we see him again?
That's the biggest concern, is that he hasn't started skating yet. They keep saying he's progressing, but until he gets on the ice alone even, it's going to keep pushing it off. So mid-January, maybe, you're hopeful, right? Because there's that, it's just the timeline. I know the timeline is you skate a little bit on your own, and then you work your way into a practice and a skate, and then you're back on the ice, right? But looking at the games and looking at the way the scenario keeps getting played out, it feels like a while. Now, the good news is they haven't placed him on IR, right? Or I don't believe
LTIR.
He is on LTI? He's not.
No, he's not.
On any IR, right? I don't believe so.
No, he's not.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Lauko is, and Middleton, I think, are the only two. So, I mean, that's usually bodes well, but yeah, and there hasn't been much discussion about it either. So on Tuesday.
Oh no, sorry, I'm wrong. I guess he is
on IR. He is on IR. Okay.
He is on IR.
Jake is on LTIR.
Lauko's
and
just IR.
Ekar IR.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember. It's because it's been so long since we've really even.
And that's how many
checked in
there have
on it.
been. That's how many injuries they're going with. You never know who's not.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm a little bit more and more concerned the longer it takes him to get back on the ice, but we'll see. They've been really extra covered on their injury updates with us this year, which has, I think, been an ongoing problem between the league and the PHWA, but it just seems a lot more concealed. Like, just let me know.
Well, again, I will say it for the thousandth time. If you're going to be involved with gambling, you should not be hiding your injuries. Like, if you're going to have people betting on your games, because you know who knows? Everybody involved with the team and probably opposing players. Yeah. You can't tell me that if you want to find out, if you're a Vegas Golden Knight, and by the way, these guys talk, right? You can't tell me that they have no idea what's wrong. Oh, man, they're hiding it from... The only people that don't know are the outsiders like us. Yeah. Drives me nuts, Gary Bettman.
So
and Jess, do you get the sense that, and this is something that Judd and I were talking about before the game on Saturday, but do you get the sense that Jonas Brodin is like 100% good to go now? Because I know that headshake doesn't suit too well.
But I'm not.
He played heavy minutes that first night. He played a decent amount yesterday too, but it was more of that's not a guy I think long term you want to rush back.
Right. And I know they were really heavily emphasizing that they were going to do their due diligence and make sure they didn't rush him back, especially when they needed him, right? Like that was my concern when they had him rush back. And then the fact that I wouldn't have played him in Vegas. I wouldn't have played him against Vegas. I just would have sat him just to make sure, because to my knowledge, the problem is his back, which is can be a very serious issue for hockey players, right? Like I threw out my back again, guys, too, because I'm old and I can't even freaking walk. Like I don't know what these guys do. It's insane. I know.
That golf swing might not have helped you.
I know. I'm so old.
That swing lab swing.
It's so bad. Thankfully, Swing Labs Performance in Lakeville can help me work that one out. But no.
Promo code Xmas.
Yes. But to my knowledge, their problem was he wasn't responding to like the cortisone shots, right? That were supposed to help. And so I don't know. But he did play the heavy minutes. He played again against Vegas. He looks fine. He said he feels really good to us, which, hockey players never lie to us, I'm sure. But I have a constant concern because it's an injury that plagues him every year and takes him out of the lineup all the time. And so, it just, that's just based off of my gut though. It has nothing behind it. I don't know that for sure. And again, I can only go off of what we're told, which is he's 100%. He's fine. He will be good moving forward. I just have my own questions. Like, are we sure? Wow. Like, are we sure?
I hate the thought of him actually, as much fun as it's going to be to watch from a hockey fan perspective. I hate the thought of him playing in the Four Nations face-off for Sweden, because that's going to be like playoff hockey, and he don't need that. So he's so valuable. The last thing, age. So Jess, we did a show sharing the mic post game after the Flyers game on Saturday, and AJ looks at the sheet and he says Kirill Kaprizov in the game on Saturday night or afternoon played 1840, and he goes, the minutes, I got a feeling they're going to ride him. Not only did they ride him for the Golden Knights game and he got 2 goals, he played 28:03. So AJ, congratulations. John Hines, clearly listening, decided to not just play him more, but they played Kirill 10 minutes more against the Golden Knights than they did the day before against the Flyers.
You want to toss him out there on a PK, eat up some more? Good.
Well, that's where I want some of his minutes to come from. He's on all these.
Judd wants him playing 30 minutes a night. Judd wants him out there for
Tibbs.
For half
I'm going
the game.
Tibbs on him. But anyway, Age, great call, because Age called that. He was spot on.
I mean, I don't know. I think anybody with a brain probably could have done the same thing.
I try to give him credit.
I appreciate. Well, the cherry on top would have been you goaded me into saying like hat trick, and I said hat trick. He had 2 goals, and
3 shots, 2 goals and 3 shots. Well, he had 2 goals in 3 shots. I don't remember what he did.
Samsonov robbed him of that early third period. I thought he was going to complete the hat trick on that.
Shot it right into him. It was the worst shot of the night.
Worst shot of the night. Well, the other 2 are pretty hard to top.
6 shots on goal.
Yeah. But yeah, he didn't leave the ice for like out of the final 5 minutes. He was out there for like 4 because he was sitting at about 23. And I was like, oh, we're gonna get to that 24-minute mark that I predicted, and then we get the sheet after the game. It's like 28. Wow, I thought that was a mishap. So
anyway, very nice work.
Russian gas.
Great work by both of you. Great shirt too. The Kirill Kaprizov shirt.
I had it until I was doing laundry, and I was like, oh yeah, look at that guy.
I feel like we've sort of forgotten about the dollar bill Kirill. What happened to that? Like, he's gonna be like, it's perfect right now because he's gonna be paid north of what Draisaitl makes.
Oh, it's gonna resurge once.
Crushing it right now again.
He is. Oh yeah, he's a surly German too, man. He is a surly player.
See, like him, like in Edmonton, we didn't get to talk to him. Like, you just scored.
No,
he
don't want to talk to you. He is. You know what? I think McDavid. I think McDavid is like your typical Canadian. I'm not going to say, I'll talk, but I'm not going to say a thing. Draisaitl, I think, hates us.
He probably would love me if he knew me.
Well, yes, but he hates the media. Why is it always about you?
I didn't get yelled at by Torts on Saturday. We're living large.
I think Royce. I think Patrick went and purposely trolled Torts.
Yeah, he asked me. I had to tell Royce, so I had the honor of sitting next to Royce, as I normally do when he shows up in St. Paul. And he was like, "Did you talk to Torts?" And I said, "I did talk to Torts." And he goes, "What did he say?" And I told him. And then he's like, "Oh, that's great. What did he say?" And he had to write down the quote word for word.
Oh, he didn't ask that question. I assumed he wouldn't ask that question. Who asked the question? Where
Philadelphia Flyers writer. So which she must. I think she was doing a sidebar on Marc-Andre Fleury his last time against the Flyers, whatever. And it was a beautiful save that Fleury had, right? No question. Like that was an
Phenomenal.
incredible from a hockey fan. Beautiful.
Save of the year.
So she had mentioned, and if that had gone in, the game would have been different. I have no doubt about that either, right? Like different scenario. But she had mentioned, well, you got to kind of tip your cap to Fleury. And Torts goes, I'm not tipping my cap to anybody. And she goes, okay, but it was a good save, for a legendary goalie that you've seen a lot of. And he goes, I'm not talking about that team. I'm not talking about the other team. If you want to talk about the Minnesota players, you can go somewhere else or whatever. Everybody thought I asked that question, by the way. It wasn't me.
I thought Royce did because it was so perfect for his column. I thought he purposely went
Nope,
and
I just
trolled
I
Torts.
told him what it was, and he
okay.
wrote it down in his notebook, and I have to read the story. I didn't read the story yet. But
And by the way, that save was only necessitated by a terrible blind pass by Brodin.
who deserved the question I asked him if he owed Marc-Andre Fleury dinner?
Yep. Yeah, and to act like he didn't know exactly what you were talking about.
He did. Well, and what was he talking about? He claimed that Marc-Andre Fleury was going to shoot into the empty net, and Faber blocked it.
Do you remember that, AJ?
What? Which one?
The Flyers game.
Yeah.
So I asked Brodin, I said, so do you owe Flower dinner for saving you a little bit? And he goes, oh, yeah, the puck went off Faber's stick. And I was like, huh? And he goes, oh, you mean the first shift? And I was like, yes, the first shift. The save that you egregiously turned the puck over on. And we left it at that. And he goes, oh, yeah, I probably owe him something. That was it.
Yeah. I don't know what he's talking about there off Faber's stick.
I didn't know either.
I don't
He
know.
tried
The
to
only other
deflect.
person
I felt
can
kind
think
of bad about it.
The only person I can think of that also owes somebody dinner who is it? Ben Jones that just rifled one right off Foligno's temple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Ooh. Maybe shouldn't have been standing there. But
That's what Marcus said. He said I should have been back door there, and I wasn't,
Yeah.
and so I got.
And
what
I wanted to
deserved.
feel how
But-
hard his shot was.
how about hit the net?
But to Brodin's point there, so Torts did pull the goaltender with like 4:15 left.
Mm-hmm.
So there might have been a shot. I don't remember it, but there might have been a shot that Fleury tried to take because his goal before he's done is to do what Gus did in St. Louis and score a goal. And if it hit Faber's stick, we wouldn't have from the press box seen that.
Yeah.
Like the players would be far more cognizant of that. So I wonder if in their mind there was a chance because the Wild was up 3-1 at that point. So it's a 2-goal lead. So you could take a shot if you're a goaltender without getting in huge trouble. I wonder if that was the thing. Because if Faber cost us an empty net goal by Fleury, I will never forgive him.
I won't either. We'll have to talk. I'll ask Fleury on Tuesday.
Ask about that.
I'm gonna
Ask
ask
Fleury if he had a shot. And it's a great story that Brock Faber, seen as this great local kid, cost a Hall of Fame goaltender a chance at his goal. So now,
Well, we'll start with he's taken out Zuccarello's balls. He's cost Mark. I mean, he's got a
Well,
laundry list.
I
of
think it's just
problems
one
this
ball.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
I don't think he has got
Well,
both. I don't think both. I think it was just the
Zuccarello's
one.
got 2 kids, by the way, now. So we're good. He's got
He's fine.
he's got a baby.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
still it's not the procreating, it's the pain he was apparently in for like a week. I can't imagine there'd be no way to get comfortable. There'd be no way, as age can attest to. There's no good way to like lay or sit then. It's terrible.
I don't even understand how you guys ride a bike, frankly. So that's just me. I just don't get it. The mechanics of it.
I usually don't ride a bike.
I would.
All right, and with that, we're done. With that, there's no more to talk about. We are done. Jessi, AJ, Judd's hockey show or something like that. We'll talk to you later.